morning. My name is Jaden Duenas, and this is Join the Discourse. We are live right now, Tuesday, December 15th, 2020, coming to an interesting end to this year. Before I get started, I just want to say stick around on Saturday for an interesting Saturday discussion. These kind of episodes of Join the Discourse, they're going to be very brief. I'm trying to keep this to maybe 5-10 minutes, just to kind of wrap up and bring you what's going on in the world today. But Saturday, I'm trying to really get into it. So make sure you follow, subscribe, turn on notifications, all that kind of stuff so you don't miss a thing. This morning, I want to discuss the COVID-19 vaccine. So there's a lot of distrust in science, in the government, in the vaccine. And I think that the skepticism is very much valid. We've seen a lot of corrupted power in the United States, specifically in terms of science, we've seen a lot of corrupt science in the United States, around the world. We think back to, the Tuskegee experiments, experimented with syphilis on Black Americans. We think back to Henrietta Lacks. We think back to just the entire justice and medical healthcare system and its mistreatment of people of color and poor people in the United States. And those weren't even, the only corrupt experiments in the U.S. But even so, there's plenty more abroad in other countries. So other countries are similarly or have similar reasons to be skeptical, at least. And similarly, we see just corruption in political parties. What we're seeing today. This morning, I woke up and the first thing I heard on the news was another thing about Mike Madigan. And if you're from Illinois, you've probably heard that word, or heard his name rather, a lot, because he is constantly involved in different scandals and corruption, yet he is constantly in office in Springfield, Illinois. He's a politician in Illinois. But even beyond, the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, we see Donald Trump. We see, Lord knows that we could go on for days about Donald Trump's corruption. But again, similarly, the Democratic Party is just the same. Politicians are just the same. It's the fact that we live in this sort of plutocracy, this government that rests in the hands of the elite and the rich people. And so I think those are all valid reasons to mistrust or distrust the vaccine. But in terms of this pandemic right now, we are really at an inflection point. And I think that trust right now is of vital importance. It's vitally important that we trust the vaccine, that we trust science, and that we can finally turn this thing around. Because if we don't turn it around now, we are likely never going to see another normal day in the United States, in the world. Everything is going to continue like this until we trust, and we trust each other just as much as we trust science. And so I want to go through two reasons specifically why I think we should be able to trust this vaccine. And the first is that corrupt science happens with corrupt power. These experiments, like the Tuskegee experiments, like Henrietta Lacks, those were very concentrated forms of power. Those are labs or like schools, or like schools with labs or things like that. They weren't, the process of developing a vaccine in the United States, or developing any sort of science in the United States, is highly decentralized. There is no one entity who is focused in carrying these things out. There's not even a single, maybe there's a board, but the power expands well beyond the board and the chairmen and chairwomen and stuff like that. And therefore it's highly incorruptible, specifically that process. There's a lot of very corruptible things in the United States, as we've seen clearly. But science and developing vaccines is not as corruptible and not highly corruptible as much as our government is. It's very independent of government. And I think that we have all our anger toward Trump, and we have it toward the Democratic Party. I know a lot of people have anger toward, and I think we misplaced that anger, and we direct it toward the CDC, we direct it toward Pfizer, we direct it toward Moderna, Anthony, all of these different entities that are very much independent of our government, but have influence in our government because of the world we're living in right now. We take our anger out on them very much unnecessarily when they are independent of the corruption of all these other governmental entities. And I think it's, I mistrust Pfizer and Moderna for an entirely different reason, because I'm very much against like for-profit pharmaceutical industries. But even that, like, for-profit pharmaceutical industries right now are at least showing me that they are working to some extent to develop what we need. I think the issue is more in the distribution. So in terms of the development, I think it's perfectly reasonable to trust what Pfizer and Moderna have created. All these different companies. I think there's plenty others that are involved in this process of development. I think it's reasonable to trust them for that reason. The fact that their power is very incorruptible because of how distributed and decentralized it is. Trump isn't the one, writing down the ingredients for this vaccine, or however that works. I don't know how vaccines work, but Trump isn't the one doing that. Your governor isn't the one doing that. It's licensed like medical professionals, like scientists, people who've studied this for their lives. And the other aspect of like why I think we should trust it is actually the fact that, people keep on pushing this narrative that it was developed too quickly. Like, I'm not putting something in my body that you made up in 2 weeks. I'll give you the fact that our sense of time is very distorted right now. Our mental timelines are very skewed because of the world around us and everything that seems like it's moving way too fast, but also like not moving at all at the same time because everyone's just stuck at home. This pandemic has been going on for over a year, and they haven't been, going after the vaccine for all of this duration of time. But it's been a year now of like studying these effects and seeing how it's impacting people. A year is much longer than 2 weeks. It's 50 weeks past 2 weeks actually. And I think that although we could say maybe the trial period was maybe hastened, was like too quick. The actual process of finding what works, they had a lot of time for that. And it's a lot of time in combination with like the unique set of circumstances we have now going into 2021. We have much better technology than we've ever had before. Dealing with the 1918 Spanish flu, like you expect them to have a vaccine back then as fast as we have right now for coronavirus. And not even just that, but the unique set of partnerships that have been created, in this pandemic because of the dire need for this vaccine and for something that will get us out of this, because it's clear that, just regular health protocols, stuff that's been in place for years and years and decades, maybe hundreds of years, in the sense of like wearing a mask. People knew to wear a mask way back when. But the unique set of partnerships that have been created between scientists, governments, industries, stuff like that we've never seen before, because of how dire the situation is right now. And so even the fact that the trial period was sped up is just a reflection of the fact that we are seeing a very unique set of circumstances that have been created, or not created, but that the circumstances have created these partnerships. And this sense of the fact that it can be developed that fast because of what we're seeing right now. And so those are my two reasons to trust the vaccine. I'll just add one more, and that's the fact that you or me or anybody around us who is willing to have put in that effort, in combination with some other, sociological factors like socioeconomic status and actual money to pay for it, any of us could have been involved in the process of developing this vaccine. Like if you had the money and the time and the energy to go study biology and epidemiology and like developing vaccines, whatever that immunology, if you had the resources and the sustained effort to do that, you could have been on these teams developing the coronavirus vaccine. And so I think if I could see myself being in part of this process, then why would I distrust myself? You know what I mean? That's essentially the people who are developing the vaccine. They're people like myself. And I almost studied biology. I almost wanted to study epidemiology and all this kind of stuff. I didn't. But yeah, so I think if I could have been on that team doing it, then why should I distrust the people who are on the team right now, who did put in the effort, who did have the funds, despite how messed up that system is in the United States of, who gets the chances to become a doctor, to study these things. There's good people in there right now. Not everything is as corrupt as it seems to be because of the corruption that we have seen in other aspects of our lives. And so I'm going to just end it right there this week. We're at 11 minutes on this live. Make sure you join on Thursday. I'm going to be having a discussion about, I believe I'm going to talk about the death penalty and this whole Brandon Bernard situation. But even more than that, how the Trump administration right now is essentially enforcing genocide in a way through the death penalty, encouraging the death penalty right now to kill these people. We're going to get into that discussion. So tune in Thursday. That'll be another quick one like this. But make sure even more than that, you tune in on Saturday, because then we're going to have a much longer discussion about, the kind of things that we're seeing throughout this week, coming up next week, and going forward. So make sure you join the Discourse server. That's at jd-originals.com. You can find that, and that'll let you, keep on discussing this with me, offer me some thoughts. If you have anything that you just think would be something good to talk about, you can throw it in there and I'll listen. I'll talk about it. Whatever it is you want to talk about. If you're not on Discord, you can shoot me a DM on any platform. I'm Jaden Duenas _ on almost everything. Or you can just send me an email at Jaden at Jaden@jd-originals.com. Other than that, man, this is the first episode of Join the Discourse. I'm doing it on a Tuesday morning. I'm doing this Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturdays again. All of these episodes, including these short Tuesday and Thursday segments, they're going to be on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, SoundCloud. Probably starting about next week, they'll all be officially up there for this first week of episodes. But going on from there, they're going to be up there regularly. So you can make sure you follow me or follow this show, I guess, on all of these different platforms. Make sure you check me out on YouTube. You can find my YouTube and a lot of past videos and artwork at jd-originals.com. I have my whole portfolio on there, as well as like past live streams, my different art videos that I was doing weekly for a while. And going forward, I'm going to keep doing these live stream type events, like when I'm making something or when I'm premiering something new. I'm going to get into this probably more on Saturday, but if you consider supporting me on Patreon, that would be dope, because I'm starting this right now. Full clarity, I do have like a job right now. This is more of a side type thing, something I'm just trying to get started, something that I'm interested in doing more. And so supporting me on Patreon will allow me to go further in doing this more full time and focusing more on this instead of going to work, which, yeah. Other than that, let's see. Last thing, make sure you watch and follow my other show that I do with my girlfriend, my beautiful girlfriend, Destiny, Life with Matcha. And we do that with our dog, Matcha. So you can check us out at Life with Matcha on YouTube. On social media, we are Life W Matcha, MATCHA. You can tune in. We're going to have a new episode actually today, so you can tune in today. And that would be dope. We would really appreciate that. We got a lot of interesting things to talk about on there as well. But yeah, other than that, I'm going to see you on a Thursday. And thank you for watching.